Welcome back, Assassins. Welcome to video number 3. This is very important. Last lesson, we talked about candles, and this lesson, we're going to talk about support and resistance. Support and resistance is one of the key ingredients when it comes into learning how to read charts. In essence, when you're looking for a support, you're looking for an area or price where the stock is having an issue going down. I like to think of a floor, right? If you're thinking about you're walking, you're putting your feet on the floor, that's what you want to see the stock candles do. You want to see these stock candles hit this level of support or area of support and bounce off that area. And for resistance, a resistance is an area or price where the stock is having an issue going up. So that is a ceiling. So in essence, we're looking to possibly buy at the break of resistance, have that resistance turn into support, and then we buy it there in hopes of an uptrend, right? And in essence, if you want to short a stock, you want to basically have these candles break below the support. You buy at the break of the support, right? Once that support turns into resistance, and then you short the stock downward. And that's all you're looking for. You never really want to trade the middle. You can trade the middle, but sometimes this area in the middle could be choppy and you could see unclear movement. So definitely very key lesson. So the main level or main reason or main instance or how you're going to find support and resistance is you're basically looking for the stock to basically push up and reject. Anytime you see a stock candles push up and reject the area, that area it rejected is called resistance, right? So you see a push up and a sharp rejection. Or, right, another way you could find resistance is if you see the stock push up and go sideways, right? Think about it. Why is this stock not continuing to go up, right? It's because it's found some type of ceiling stopping that stock from going higher, right? So if we're looking at this chart over here, you guys can see the stock was green, right? That's positivity. That means the stock was increasing in value. If you guys remember your candles from the last video, you can see that we are increasing in value. And what stopped this stock from going any higher, right? It found a resistance level, right? How do we know it found a resistance level? Because we don't see another green candle above here, right? We could actually see a red candle. That means that the red candle means, hey, at this point in time over here, right? At this point in time over here that there was some issue or some sellers taking place over here, stopping the stock from going higher, right? So then you would add a line over here, and I'll show you guys how to do that on TD Ameritrade, right? So this is our resistance, right? Now the stock dropped, right? We can see a whole bunch of red candles. It dropped. What stopped the stock from going any lower from here, right? We can see a number of red candles going downwards. What stopped the stock from going lower, right? How do we find support? Support is the opposite, right? You want to see the stock drop and bounce off a certain area or price, or you want to see the stock drop and go sideways. So that sideways action is actually support, right? Resistance is the opposite, right? You push up, you reject off an area, or you push up and you go sideways, right? So I'm gonna leave this up here so you guys can look at that. But overall, what stopped the stock from going any lower? It found support, right? You can see the candles. It dropped and it bounced, right? It dropped and it bounced. Even up here, right? We pushed up and we rejected, right? Why did we reject this area? This area was resistance, right? So whenever you're looking for support and resistance, you want multiple areas or multiple candles to confirm, hey, that this, let's say this $10 level, $10 is support. So I shouldn't basically short this stock unless we break $10, right? And then we basically turn that support into resistance and we go lower. Now, for the same instance, when we want to go up, right? When we want to bet on the stock going up, what's confirming that uptrend, right? Let's say this is 20 over here. So I wouldn't want to buy over here, right, at 20 unless we break above 20, like you guys can see over here, right? We broke above 20, right? And then we start to hold above it as support. And then that's where you want to buy for that possible uptrend, right? When you have a candle break above that previous breakout candle, and then you can hold it, and you could always look at your left. Whenever we're looking at time charts, you always want to look on your left-hand side because when you're entering, this is where the last candle is where you're entering, right? So we'll talk more about that, but then you use what's on the left, right? So say if we were entering over here, we didn't see none of this, right, happen. We didn't see none of that happen. Um, so when you look on the left, you can see that, hey, $20 was over here. That's where we entered, right? Because $20 was a previous resistance level and we're starting to hold above it. Now you look to your left side and you're like, whoa, $30 up here, right? $30 was basically the next resistance level. So I would hold from 20 to 30, but I would be cautious around 30 because I know, hey, last time we hit 30, we couldn't break it. So that's basically what I'm looking for when I'm going into chart reading, right? So let's jump into some charts. Now, how do I start doing support and resistance? What time frame is the best, right? We spoke about different time frames, right? If you guys remember from the last video, we spoke about there's multiple different time frames you guys could analyze the stock on, right? You could go to the 5-year weekly, which means each candle on this chart, no matter how big or small, right, is 1 week of information. Or we could do the 180-day. Each candle on that chart is 4 hours, right? 180-day, 4 hours. Or you could do the yearly. So how do I normally start doing my support and resistance, right? So whenever I'm analyzing a stock, right, whether it be for the short term or the long term, I always want to go towards my 5-year first. This is typically the largest chart I start off with when I'm doing my support and resistance, right? So when you're entering and exiting a stock, right, what candle are you entering, right? I know a lot of you guys are new traders, so the last candle that is printed, that's the one you're entering on, right? This is the candle you're entering on. So this is very important to focus on no matter when I zoom out, zoom in, right? This is where you're entering at. So you want to find quick support and resistance around this candle, right? So using that same chart that we had before, right? That key sheet that the chart we had before, right? Whenever we see a stock push up and reject the area, that's resistance, push up and go flat, that is resistance, right? Drop and bounce, that is support, drop and go sideways, that is support, right? So using this on TD Ameritrade, let me just clear these up real quick. Using this on TD Ameritrade, there's a toolbox down here, the one that says price level, right, with the dollar symbol. That is my support resistance tool over here. And main thing is, automatically, whenever you guys go to any chart, it's going to identify the highest point and the lowest point, right? So automatically, the lowest point is going to be a support. Why? Because you can see the stock drop and bounce, right? This is the lowest point. And right now we're looking at ticker SPY. So this is a tradable form of the S&P 500. So you guys can see we basically drop and bounce, right? That is a sign of support. Drop and bounce, support. Drop and sideways, support, right? Up and reject, resistance. Up and sideways, that is resistance, right? So that's what I'm looking for every time I'm looking at this chart, right? So you can see that from this drop over here at 218, we rallied and we came up towards 479 over here. So I'm gonna put a line at 479. Why? Because that is a resistance level. We struggle to break above this 479 level, right? Now, like I told you, when you're buying, I'm not buying over here. I'm buying over here, right? We could literally fill up this whole chart with support and resistance, right? So I'm looking for quick support and resistance levels near this level over here, right? That's our entry point, this last candle, right? So automatically you can see that we pushed up and dropped and bounced. So that area where we bounced off of, right? Why didn't this red candle continue to fall down, right? It found some type of support. So I'm focusing on the area around this last candle because that's where I'm buying at. And notice how I go towards my far left because I want to make sure this line is basically, so I'll be able to see the pass, right? So I'll be able to see, hey, multiple areas where this price point at 433 has been either resistance over here, right? Or support over here. So you can see that 433 level has been resistance before, has been support. All right, so that's given this 433 area an area of confidence, or it's building confidence as a trader when I'm saying, hey, whoa, 433 has been support before, has been resistance before. I wouldn't want to go into a short position betting on the stock going down unless we break this level first, right? We need to break 433 first before I could trust it before we go lower. If you think about it, right, we haven't even over here at 433 became support over here, right? When we finally broke it, How did we know it became support? We've seen candles break above it, go sideways, right? That is support. Now to the upside, right? It pushed up off of this 433 when we found support. Where was the main resistance level, right? 461 over here, right? So we go back to our tools over here, 461 over here, or 460. Remember, support and resistance is an area. 460 is our level of resistance. So we wouldn't want to basically go long unless we see that 460 level broken, right? So 1 second, let me just remove these. So now when we're looking for resistance, how do we know this level of 460 is acting as resistance, right? How do we know how strong this 460 level is? Very basically a strong resistance point, right? So we have 460 over here and we look to the left, right? We look to the left, right? We could see 460, we pushed into it before and we rejected it, right? So 460 is another strong resistance over here. And you can see this area over here, this whole area is 460. We kind of try to bounce off of it. And even over here, you can see that we attempted to get close towards that 460, right? Remember, support resistance is an area or not a price, right? A lot of people think that support and resistance is a certain price point. It's an area. So now if I want to go long, I want to basically go long above 460 and then I'll hold it towards 479. And if I want to short, remember when you're entering on this last candle, I want to see a break of 433. Now, wow, where can it go from the break of 433, right? So typically when you're doing support resistance, you want at least 4 lines, right? You want at least 4 lines near that area you're trying to buy, right? You can see you have 1, 2, 3. Now, where's the fourth line to the bottom, right? If I was to short this stock, it's not going to go to the floor. It's going to go to the next possible support zone or resistance zone, right? And how do I find the next possible support or resistance zone? I just look to my left, right? You can see that we pushed up over here around 422 and rejected, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my far left, but I'm still eyeing this level right here, right? And I just double click. And now you guys can see, wow, on the break of 431, you can start going down towards this 420 level, right? Now, how do I know 420 is a strong level of support? You can see it was rejected over here. It was rejected over here. It actually became, that resistance became support. The candles started to hold above that 420 level in order for us to start pushing up towards these 460 levels, right? Now you can see that 420 was support over here in the past. It was even support over here in the past. So I know, hey, if I was to short, I'd probably want to watch out around that 420 zone. And I would do the same thing, right, for this whole chart, right? You could do the same thing for the whole chart. And let me just clear these ovals. These ovals, you do not need them. With the support and resistance, you do, right? So let's go over towards the support and resistance tab again, support level, price level. And you can see again, so if we was to break this 420 zone, where can we possibly go? We could possibly go to the 444, 404 level, right? Why? Because we basically couldn't break this level to go lower, right? So that 404 level. And you have this level over here, right? I can't really see it because the drawing, let me get rid of the drawing. But that's basically what you're looking for when you go into support and resistance, right? And I always start off on my 5-year, right? Now, from the 5-year, I go to the yearly, right? So we're going from 5-year and we drop down to the yearly. Why am I dropping down in time frame? Because now I'm looking at each candle on the 5-year is a weekly time frame, where each candle on the yearly, right, is a daily time frame, meaning each one of these candles took 1 day to form. And I might find closer support and resistance levels, right? Remember, imagine me watching, especially as a day trader, watching one candle on the 5-year is a week time frame, or now I'm dropping down towards the daily. Now I could find support and resistance levels over here. So you can see these are the last 2 days of the SPY. The last day was Friday. We had a green day, but it was a small green day, right? It wasn't a drastic move. Remember the size of the candle, right? Even though you have some small ones, you have some large ones, determines on the amount of buyers, right? Were inside that at that time period, right? No matter if it's a year or a day candle or a weekly candle, right? So this last candle over here is small because we had a small amount of price action, right? So look at this. We pushed up, drop down towards this 422. So 422 is going to be 442, I mean. 442 is going to be a major support level over here, right? You can see it was resistance before, and now it's support, and it was even support before it turned into that resistance level. Now to the upside, right? We could either watch for the break of these candles over here. You can see, hey, this 449 level has been some type of resistance before, right? And it's been some type of support, resistance, support. And if it was to break that level, you could possibly go to 443. You can see the same instance where we push up into it and reject, right? So now if I want to go long, 449 to 453. Want to go short, I could go from 443, and then I could look for my support and resistance levels over here, right? You can see, boom, we could basically get in from 442 down towards that 438. 438 acted as support, acted as support, acted as support. So that's how you do it. You always want to look on your left, right? I'm entering on this last candle, right? But I'm not going to enter on this candle right here. I want this candle to basically break and start to hold below that level. Then I'm looking to buy, and then you could possibly short it down to these levels, right? Or what if it bounces, right? You want it to break and hold above that resistance as support. You look to buy, and then you hold it towards that 453 level. And that's how you pretty much look for your entries using support and resistance. Now that we learned support and resistance, you guys are qualified, right? You guys are qualified to learn a little bit of patterns, right? So whenever you start trading support and resistance, right, there's certain things that helps us find bullish activity or basically bearish activity in the market, and that's actually patterns, right? So looking at stock patterns, right, there's many different patterns. I'm not going to tell you I know every pattern, but as a trader, you should know maybe 2 or 3 patterns, right? The main thing that's going to lead to your consistency in the stock market is basically understanding your niche, right? What you're good at. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room or anything like that. You just have to figure out what you're good at, right? So um, these are top patterns that I use and look for every day, right? So whenever you see a stock basically increase in stock price, right? You can see it go from a low price to high price, hit a resistance, come down, and then we basically hit that same resistance again, that $60 level. Whenever you see a stock struggle to break a resistance multiple times, whether it be 1 time, 2 time, or even 3 times or more, that is a strong bearish signal right there. And typically you could look for an entry on the break of those previous candles to the downside, right? I'll show you guys there's multiple things that I look for before I enter a stock, right? I was talking about this to someone yesterday, that before I enter a stock, there's a checklist in my brain before I enter. I'm looking for, hey, support and resistance. There's certain indications that I use, and that's going to be on our next lesson. So make sure you guys pay attention to that. But double top is a bearish sign, right? Whenever you see a stock struggle to break a price point or area to the top more than once, that is a bearish sign, and typically the stock will decrease in price, right? Now, if a double top is bearish, right, a double bottom is bullish, right? Which is why a lot of people, when they're trying to short, they end up getting basically hurt by trying to short an area where it was a strong support, right? Let's say this area is $100. We could see that, hey, we have a whole bunch of red candles. We touched this $100 level once, we bounce, and we came down, touched this $100 level twice, and then we bounce, right? Then you'll look for an entry over here in hopes of it to possibly continue this uptrend, right? Because if we're struggling to break $100 more than once, typically you'll see a bounce, right? Why? Because bulls are going to start buying calls or shares or whatever you're trading at that second bottom because we're struggling to go lower, right? So a double top is bearish and a double bottom is a bullish pattern, right? Now, yeah, bear flags, right, and bull flags, right? So this is basically once you start using trend lines, this is a little bit advanced. I'm going to tell you that, hey, I'm not really looking for bear flags or bull flags every day. I'm looking for either double tops or double bottoms, but there's bear flags. Basically, when you see the stock drop, it bounces, it creates a wedge. If it breaks the wedge to the downside, that's a bear flag. Same thing if the stock is on an uptrend, it basically comes down a little bit, creates a wedge. If it breaks it to the upside, it's a bull flag, right? So that's bear flag and bull flag. If you guys want, you guys could look at this as well. But like I said, you only need 3 patterns, right? I use double top, double bottom. You'll pretty much see these every day. And then you have a step and staircase, right? So this is when you're looking on a chart on a higher time frame, and you can see that we're making higher lows, right? So you're basically every time we come push up and come down, push up, come down, push up, come down, you can see that, hey, the price is increasing. You will see this on bullish stocks on high time frames, right? You can see a step and staircase pattern, right? You could even see a step and staircase pattern on this chart over here, right? Do you guys see it? And that leads us to trend lines, right? So trend line is basically like a sideways support and resistance, right? I don't get too deep into trend lines. I typically just use support and resistance. I'm trading from one box to the next box, but some people use trend lines, right? At the break of this trend line, most people get bearish over here and short a stock, right? So that's the trend line. So we talked about the 5-year and then we talked about the yearly, and then you could even actually drop down towards the 180 day. Sometimes I drop from the 5-year to the yearly to the 180 day to see what else I'm seeing over here, but we'll save that for another lesson, right? Um, let's jump back into some stock patterns that you may want to know, right? So we did the step and staircase. There is such thing as a dead cat bounce, meaning after a stock drops, um, takes a huge drop, could be off of news, could be a Powell day, and then you typically look for a buy at the bottom in hopes of it to possibly go up. And that's pretty much it. And you guys seen a little segue. This is your entry for next week's lesson. So make sure you guys pay attention. Make sure you guys are ready for next week's lesson because we're going to be talking about indicators, right? And brief intro, an indicator helps me understand key points, when to enter, when to exit. And there's a series of indicators that I use. There's different ways to trade, right? So I want to be honest with you guys. There's different ways to trade. What I'm showing you guys is my style of trading. So there's different styles of trading, but I'm an indicator trader. I use indications to help me understand, hey, is this a good time to enter? Is this a bad time to enter? So I'm giving you guys free game. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you guys practice support and resistance because not only you can start off on the 5-year, I go to the yearly, I go to the 180-day 4-hour to do my support and resistance. Why? Because I don't want to hit any snags, right? You could have a fill this whole chart up, right? And basically the main premise is, hey, I'm looking for this break of 442 over here to go down towards 438, right? For my short position. Or, hey, I'm looking for this long position at the break of 446 and I'm selling at 449 over here, right? I know 449 could be a possible area of resistance because, hey, we can see this flat surface right here. Now, if you guys remember, right, when I'm entering a stock, which candle am I entering, right? I'm entering this candle right here, right? So that's why you always want to be cautious when you're doing your support and resistance. Make sure it's around that area, right? But you don't want to zoom in too much because then you're going to miss the majority of the move, right? Yeah, you could probably short from here to there, but is it going to be safe, right? This level could be choppy and we go sideways. So look for a breakout of your resistance, 446, or is that 449 up here, or to the downside, 442. It's down towards that 438. Why? Because 438 was some type of floor, right? So practice your support and resistance. Look at other videos as well, right? Practice. This is going to be your bread and butter. Support and resistance is the key essence of trading and candles, right? So that's going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully you guys learned something and stay tuned for the next one. Peace.